Hey there, today is day 120 of our Supersize You Annual Challenge. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom. We're talking about communication commitment. But before I do that, I forgot to cover the R, the fifth step in our super process this year, the one that we're using to tie everything together and to wrap up and make sure that we have a 5-step simple process for handling either an improvement area in the area that we're focusing on for the month, this month, communication, or a goal that we're setting that we want to achieve by the end of the year. So I'm going to quickly talk about that first. And what I'd like to do, and I'm kind of laughing at myself because I've been looking for this sheet of what I did at the beginning of the year is I went through and for each of the different 9 framework areas of the life framework, I found a person that would tell me their story with respect to the topic and go through the super process. And then one of my business clients that would also shared their story, and I printed it all up, and I made it, printed it up, and I couldn't find it. Well, it turns out I've been carrying it around. I found it last night as I was getting ready for today's video. Oh my gosh, I've been carrying this around in my pile of this month's documents all month long. Kind of embarrassing, but typical. Means I'm just trying to do a few too many things right now. So, with respect to review and evolve, here's what I like to look at. I like to have something that I'm looking at and thinking about weekly with respect to communication. I've done it with all of the other topics we've covered so far. And it just keeps that area fresh in my mind as I'm going forward. We focus on it for a month pretty strongly, and then we get on to something else. And when we get on to something else, we don't want to necessarily drop, especially if we've set a goal for ourselves to achieve this year with respect to communication. We want to make sure we have regular check-ins, and I'll tell you how I go about doing that. And I'll share Todd's story with you because Todd wanted to improve his communication. His target, I'm going to tell you what that is first so that we have a common understanding. I'm sorry, I wish I would have covered all of the steps. I will do that from now on, now that I know where my sheets are. But I just did them without giving a specific example. And message me or share in the comments below. Is it helpful and valuable to have somebody else's example of how they've applied the super process? And if it is, I'll keep sharing it. If it's not, then I won't. I won't take up our time doing it. But for example, he said he wants to become a confident, clear communicator, speak up in meetings without fear, have difficult conversations effectively, and prove active listening and express his needs and boundaries clearly. Pretty much something all of us can almost relate to. Forgot to turn off my alarm. Oops. It's just one of those weeks. Tech difficulties on Monday. Just the week's just been kind of snowballing on its own. And you know what? That's life, right? That is just how our lives go. And we can be frustrated and rail against what's happening, or we can say, okay, what is this happening? Why is this happening? What's it here to show me? What can I do about it without, losing my you-know-what? Okay, so Todd, what is he going to do for review? Weekly, he's going to ask himself, did I speak up at meetings? And if so, how did it make me feel? And he just keeps a little journal. I know what he does. But you decide how you want to track it or keep track of that or even document it. I obviously keep my handy dandy annual challenge notebook, and I just document things in that throughout the year. Monthly, he's going to work on difficult conversations. He's going to review the difficult conversations he had or that he chose not to have. And then what was the outcome? What was the relationship involved? And was the relationship improved or harmed? I'm being really willing to bet that the ones he didn't speak up about, it didn't improve the relationship. That's just my intuitive guess here today. Quarterly, he's going to look at feedback from a trusted friend on communication improvement. So he's got an accountability buddy. He's got a friend he's working with who will give him and meet with him quarterly so they can just chat about it for a few minutes and document. No, he doesn't have to document, but he can just note and become aware of his progress. Then he's going to celebrate. First time he's speaking up in a big meeting, or he navigated a conflict successfully, or he said no without guilt and set a boundary, he is going to find ways that work for him to celebrate. We've talked about this before. All of the things I say and teach and share are based on my experience. Why? Because I'm the only one that can experience my experiences. Nobody else can. Only you can experience your experiences and learn from them or not learn from them. I will let you in on a little secret. The ones that you don't learn from, guess what? They come back around. It might be a totally different set of circumstances, but until you learn that lesson, This is something I can say with certainty. Until you learn the lesson that the event or experience is trying to show you and teach you, and a lot of times it's right in our face, it's going to repeat itself. You're not going to know when, you're not going to know how, you're not going to know who, but it's going to rear its ugly head until you're like, oh my gosh, how have I not seen this pattern of behavior before? I have so many of those in my life. It's just like, aha, no wonder that happened again. And then finally, to evolve, he's going to become the go-to person for facilitating difficult conversations and mentoring others in communication. How awesome is that? I think that's an incredible thing to strive for and to become, is an example for other people. I think I've said that before. All right, enough of our example. Now let's talk about today's topic. We are talking about committing to communication and committing to communication improvement, right? We can commit to communicate, but if we're not communicating effectively, what's the point? So how do we go about doing that? I say pick 3 things that you want to improve between now and the end of the year. For me, I didn't pick mine yet, but maybe it would be, well, mine is always listening. I'm always trying to be a better listener. So that's one for sure. Maybe using I statements would be a good one. I feel blank when blank, specific behavior. You know what I mean? The way we give feedback, maybe giving better feedback is going to be something for you. Maybe receiving feedback more openly and honestly would be one for you. Silence and the power of the pause, storytelling, and the power of that. How about gratitude? We just talked about that yesterday. I'm going to say, if you don't pick anything else, pick gratitude in every area and aspect of your life, and use that as the thing that you're focusing on to evolve and improve and celebrate. So today is just all about review. I would say take 5 minutes today, go back over your notes for this month so far, and pick the 3 areas that you think are impacted you the most and you want to continue and set a goal in, or something between now and the end of the year. Just like Todd did, pick something that you aspire to, right? I think I've shared this before, but the reason this life framework came about is I needed a way to structure my life and set long-term legacy goals for myself. I have to have these big, hairy, audacious goals that I'm working for all the time, so that every choice, every decision, everything I do, every action I take, every step I take, there's a song like that. It's going in my head right now. Everything that I do and choose to do and say yes to or no to is based on my overall overarching purpose and lifetime goals, because I just break them down in smaller pieces and then work toward them every year. So the area of communications is no different. Once I added it to my life framework in 2020, 2021, and started sharing it, I set lifelong legacy goals in the area of communication. Some of them I haven't been working toward yet. However, I will let you know, I did join a couple of public speaking communities because I want to be a better speaker and presenter, and some different social media platforms specific groups too, which I'm not going to work on for 3 months. I've got a project I'm working on between now and for the next 3 months. And so I'm not going to commit to any of those other things. Little bits of them I'll do, but I'm not going to go all in on them until I finish the project that I'm on. Why? Because I know I need focus. So we're going to do that today. Ask yourself, what are some common practices that I want to implement with respect to communication in my personal life? We're talking about our personal life today. And what of those might I be able to apply in my professional life, my job, my career, my organization I'm a part of, etc. Think about those, and then just share one thing that you're committed to doing in the comments below with respect to improving communication between now and the end of the year. I say for each of these, since we're covering so much this year, we don't set ourselves just like, okay, I have to do this by the end of the week, which is, coming up quickly. I am going to set myself, this is the goal, this is the overarching direction I want to go, especially with respect to communication. It is a core foundational skill that anytime we improve our ability to communicate, will improve every other area and aspect of our life, which we did not talk about this year or this month, the interaction between the different life framework areas and communication. I have to sneak in some more of my tools that I'm forgetting to share every month, because I think some of them we need to talk about every single month. All right. That is a wrap on communication. If you have any questions, if you need anything, if you're wondering anything about this area and aspect, you can ask them anytime. But let's ask communication now before we jump into a new topic starting tomorrow. All right. If I can help you in any way, hit me up and ask. Otherwise, have an awesome day. And I will, of course, be with you tomorrow.